All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's been a while since I have the opportunity to come back and speak in one of just my lives. This Tuesday, we had a great party hosted by DJ Trauma, who brought the Vibe to Vote to our live stream. So I'm super grateful for everybody that is just joining us. And if you are on Instagram and on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, and on X, thank you. You are welcome to share your comments and your suggestions in the comments, and we can bring them in as we see them. If you are on Instagram, things are a little bit different. We don't get to see your comments as often, so we'll welcome you on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch, and on X. And you can find me at Aura Vasquez Official. And today I am super excited because I'm going to have a conversation with a fellow Green Latina that is a sustainability expert. She'll share more about her, and I will share more about how this live came about. But today, our live stream is dedicated to leading the way and my environmental vision for Los Angeles. So help me welcome Patty Menjivar. Hello, Patty. How are you? Welcome.
Hi, I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here with you, Aura, and talk about climate-related candidates and talk about you, and then also talk about just why is sustainability such an important thing now more than ever in respect to the voting at this moment.
Absolutely. And, just for the viewers that are getting in our live stream right now, I want to, I want to share a little anecdote with you. You actually saw another different live that I hosted last week where I spoke about my story as an environmental advocate. And you reached out and you said, like, this is great. We should totally do one. So why is this topic important to you? Why this calls your heart?
Well, for me at this moment, there's just so many things going on in regards to regulations in about climate related bills or regulations, and I just think there just needs to be more push at the moment. So that's one thing. Second, for me, it's always been a passion around sustainability. I've been working in this field over 25 years with cities, agencies, organizations, and for me, just making sure everybody does it right is so important. And I think definitely right now, candidates, really having a great opportunity to influence that. And for me also, the last thing, which is really to me the overarching umbrella, we are currently in a climate crisis. We are already at 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial temperatures, and to me right now we're in an extremely fragile time, and like we don't have time anymore to continuously stalemating. So it's really important for us all collectively to have this put forward in regards to solutions.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And this is a topic that has been really important in my heart and just for me, very important in my career. For many of you that know me and follow me, you know that I have been an environmental justice advocate since I was a child. I'm from Colombia. And, growing up in Colombia, that's how I learned about global warming, very early in like the 80s, that was like global warming, in those days. And it's really hard for me to right now, run for city council here in District 10 in Los Angeles, and to see how people don't think that the environment is an important conversation that we need to have, and it's at the center of being a good leader for our city. It's kind of wild. I think it's the best way to see, especially we just saw the amount of rain that we got. When was that? Like a week, 2 weeks ago almost?
Yes.
And all of the water that got flushed to the ocean that we could have collected, we see fires. I mean, in the recent years, we have not seen a lot of fires because we have El Nino, and we can talk more about this. But tell us, you are a sustainability expert.
Mm-hmm.
What has been your experience around this apathy that we see, and that, like, oh, well, climate leaders don't are not important. We don't need them, and this apathy that people have.
I think for me, it's very nuanced. The answer, obviously, I think in our core nature, it's in us to take care of each other and our environment. I just think we've lost the ability to understand like the connection. Like when we take, I mean, there's an impact. We need to give back, right? So to me, the apathy is definitely shown in businesses that just don't seem to understand the importance around like, okay, currently in my operations impact this much in respect to climate change. I should do something in regards to just risk in my operations or just be transparent about how much I create a footprint on. So to me, the apathy is just people just not understanding that's just should be part of your systems operations. And and to put it a little bit more about the business, like I've been in many meetings where companies say, not until I require it do I need to do it. So to me, that apathy is just like, how can how, as a person, a sustainability professional or consultant, you're like, how can I influence this person? So yeah, you tell them these are the ways in which you can do it and not cost you as much, in regards to governance, about reporting, about data collection. Or why don't you be ready before the regulations finally kick in gear? So it's avenues to like circle around their no or their apathy, and you try to be creative, but at the core I really think that we've lost that sense of like we're all connected,
Yeah.
and our choices will impact not just now but future generations. And I think until we understand that, until our society understands that, until like you as a candidate, continuously read that tone of like, no, we need to take care of our city, we need to take care of each other through, ensuring our environment is healthy, ensuring each other is healthy, those regulations to ensure that. So you would be part of that, collected that will continuously inspire people or change that mindset back to like, no, we always care about each other. We just lost that essence. And I think the apathy is just needs to be reminded, hey, it's always been in us. It's just for some reason, a certain way of doing business has now led the charge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when people, it's oftentimes people don't make the connection about how the climate, crisis is affecting them.
Right.
So like just 2 weeks ago, and I'd like to come back to the flooding that we just experienced with the atmospheric river, which
Yeah.
I also like to maybe talk with you about how unlikely are these things to happen. Often, scientists always tell us atmospheric rivers and this kind of drastic weather patterns are not something that is usual, for us here in Southern California or in California. We all love the rain, we love it, but it costs people so much money. And very quickly after the storm passed, or maybe as it was going through, I sent an email to people in my community and in the area, saying my plan to address this issue in the future, and how we need to combat climate change, how we need more stormwater capturing practices, how we need, and we get to talk more about it as we continue with this conversation. But somebody emailed me back something very interesting. I said, Aura, we're homeowners. I live in a couple of units, so we're in an HOV, like in a like a couple of units, condos, and we got flooded, and the repairs are gonna cost us $100,000, and the insurance is not gonna pay for it, because our insurances are not paying anymore for climate related,
Right.
you know, expenses, I guess is the term.
Yeah.
So it was like, do you know what are you planning to do about this? And this is again like the perfect conversation to have about something that doesn't seem so tangible and but affects people directly. And I was like, we
Mhm.
need to have a climate emergency fund,
Right.
because because it's not just this. Now we need to prepare for heat. And I would love to hear from you also about, like the predictions is like now we're going through a period of extreme heat. Like now it's gonna just get warmer and warmer. And places in the desert are gonna be even harder to, to like leave, so your air conditioning bill is gonna go up. And so this is all of these other expenses. And this is when we see, the effects of climate change affecting people every day.
Right, right. So yeah, in respect to the insurance companies, to me the way that I've been hearing it is like the canary in the mine. Like they're showing us already like they're at capacity, beyond capacity about all these climate events.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't tell us that they themselves know that we need to stop that now, because it's going to continuously increase exponentially all these climate events, that they're already stopping like these insurance policy for these flooding. Like to me it just shows like, hey guys, this is a big indicator, but people still don't understand. But like, somebody that just emailed you, she fully understood it. It's $100,000 and they're not going to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And over in COP28 last year, end of last year, November, they barely finally signed a victory for a climate disaster fund just from COP28. So
Mm-hmm.
there's all these funds that are now being placed for these emergency situations, but it's right now like the insurance companies are like, oh yeah, we're kind of washing our hands away from that. So that to me is a high concern, and I just wish more people would understand that. And obviously once you become councilwoman, that's something definitely that needs to be addressed.
Yeah. And I
And
have
then
a plan for it too, which is great. And I don't know if a lot of other, even candidates in other races have thought about this, that we, like I said, I call it a climate emergency, fund where
yeah.
we can help people, not just with like this type of cost. And I think I saw something from the county asking people how this flood affected them to see what they can do, which I think it was a wonderful first measure. But
Yeah.
again, if we don't understand that by now we already are affected by climate disasters, I mean, I think we're acting a little reactionary instead of proactively.
Yes.
So like I things like investing on permeable asphalt, and you're a sustainability officer. And somebody asked me today, they're like, "What is a permeable asphalt?" And I was like, "What a great question!" I think I know. Maybe people in the audience, and I invite people in the audience to maybe chime in if you know what permeable asphalt is. Please share your ideas. But it would be great if you can tell us if you know what a permeable asphalt is and how can that be helpful.
So
You know.
yes, so permeable asphalts basically are ground where rain, whenever you have a rain event, instead of the rain washing through, like, sliding through the asphalt, it basically percolates inside the soil, which really is optimal because you want to regenerate the groundwater. And I think this is a situation too that the way in which we designed our cities is very much cement, and we don't have much permeability. And what we do want to do, especially because if we're going to have drought periods, we want to have storage of our natural rain and all that water, that precious water, instead of it going to the sewer lines. So permeable asphalt is extremely important through our circular system. Our circular ecosystem has always told us, yes, it's not natural to have it wash away. It's supposed to percolate. So to me, that's a great question that somebody asked you. And yes, it is important. And yes, you can have it. A lot of, people that have homes or businesses, they already have that. And that's a great thing. So you're basically creating the groundwater.
I think as we move forward, and especially here in the city of Los Angeles, just to bring back the conversation about what a city council member can do about this,
Yeah.
is that as we fix our streets and put more bike lanes, which I think is extremely important, protected bike lanes in some streets, not all the streets, but in some streets, and we fix potholes, we can also use these new, kind of materials, which will allow, the rainwater to penetrate the aquifer. I also think it's worth having a conversation around heat island effect.
Yes.
Because maybe folks are now thinking, well, it's just about the rainwater, so who cares? It doesn't rain that much. But the issue with asphalt and in the streets, and especially in District 10, we have a very poor tree canopy, tree canopy. Also, we don't have a lot of open spaces and parks. So when you don't have a lot of shade with all that asphalt, it makes everything hotter and like, and again, I like to remind people, this is when you jack your AC and everything gets more costly, for
Mhm.
individuals. So
Mhm.
um, having permeable asphalt is another way to also help with heat island effect, because you
Mhm.
replenish the aquifer and everything is just gonna be greener and more moist, and it's gonna bring you know cooler cities per se. Um, let's talk about heat and heat island effect.
Oh, sorry. My alarm just went on. Hold on for 1 second.
Okay, well, Patty comes back, I want to welcome everyone uh, to this live stream. We're talking about my vision for the environment, my environmental vision for LA. It's time for us to not only, talk about our planet, but put our climate first. And as a candidate for Los Angeles City Council District 10, I remain very committed to bring our planet as we build more housing, affordable housing in our communities, as we house. And I have another good idea that I would like to share with you guys in a minute. And as we make our environment beautiful, and as we make our neighborhoods beautiful. So I want to welcome Patty is back. There you go. Welcome back.
My alarm was playing Beyonce, so I was like, "Oh,
But at least it's playing Beyonce, which is great. I want
yeah."
to also ask everyone in the chat, if you are watching and if you are interested in this topic, please let us know. We will love to see your comments about the stuff that we're talking about, and a lot more. Okay, so we're talking about heat island effect. How
Yes.
Explain what heat island effect is so people know.
So yeah, you basically described it perfectly. It's basically when you have large areas of a lot of asphalt, a lot of cement, and there's not much break of trees, grass. So when you have just cement after cement after cement, the temperature in that vicinity basically can be 1 degree to 7 degrees higher in Fahrenheit than the outlying areas that do have grass, that do have parks, that do have that greenery. So that's where you experience heat island effect, when there's a rise in temperature where there's a lot of cement. And so, and yeah, so there is an issue there, especially when we have large days of heat days, or heat waves, sorry. So there's an issue there, because if you have all these cities or parts of cities that just don't have those breaks, and then they're definitely even more higher temperature than the surrounding area. So these areas need those shady areas, those shade. There's also there's a lot of investment from one of our city officials now, where they're putting a lot of shading, because they understand that there is a heat island effect currently in our city of LA, because we have a lot
Yes.
of cement. And so we need those shades, because those particular areas have higher temperature than the outlying areas that have more greenery. So so that's a concern, again, in respect to our environment, and then being more of a concern because we will have more heat waves due to climate change, climate crisis, now climate chaos. And so we need to prepare for that. And so that's why you're seeing a lot of investment in this resiliency effort to
Mhm.
make sure that there's shady areas for these particular areas that have higher heat island effect.
Yeah, and especially in communities of color, like
Yes.
my community. For those of you that don't know, maybe District 10 is Koreatown, Mid City, Little Ethiopia, Pico Robinson South, and it's divided by the 10th freeway. And then in the south of the 10th freeway is West Adams, Jefferson Park, Leimert Park, Crenshaw, Baldwin Hills Vista. So so it's a very diverse. But surprisingly, even though we're in the middle of Los Angeles, we suffer of a lot of heat island effect, and we have a lot of density and very little open spaces, parks, and tree canopy. So again, when we think about what a city council member does, part of the job of a city council member is make our environment healthy and beautiful. And for me, it's important to also make sure that the people that are most affected by climate change and by pollution are also those that are, people of color that can get the benefits, first, from, if we're gonna fix your street, let's put the permeable asphalt in your street because you have more, if we're gonna, my promise to my district is being to plant about 10,000 trees, and it's important to know where these trees are gonna be planted. Now, I have also worked on a lot of like open spaces and parks, especially in the pandemic. We figured out that, we needed a lot of that in our communities because in the quarantine, we didn't have a place to go. We couldn't leave. And in the moment when we needed more open spaces and parks, we turned around and we had none.
Yeah.
So opening playgrounds at school parks. Big shout out to the Ready to Help family. For helping. For advocating with the youth of Alta Loma Elementary School here in Mid City. We advocated for 20 schools to be open as community parks. So it's been so excited, to be part of that work. I want to bring a question that we're having in YouTube. Somebody is asking the following: How about go back to basics? Consumerism is a problem. There is no climate change. Interesting. What do you think about that, Patty?
I mean, which part? Look, I respect Senia in respect to your perspective, but I am a scientist. I am a chemist. I am an engineer. I did study air pollution. That is my master's. So climate change is happening. So I don't agree there. So there is climate change, and climate change is an anthropogenic issue. So who is changing the climate is our human activity. Our use of energy, are definitely the footprint of creating these consumer products, contributed to climate change as well. So there's just different combustion sources that contributed to climate change that humans, did. And so it's an anthropogenic situation in which why we're experiencing climate change. Now, in respect to go back to basics, consumerism is a problem. That I agree. Consumerism is a problem in respect to we don't understand the consumerism is meaning that we have different choices that we can make, that we also can impact the producers. We actually, as a consumer, we can create a different market, and the companies that are producing these products can be changed in regards to, hey, we need to create more sustainable products. So there is a circularity in regards to consumerism and who is creating the product. If we were to create more of a choice that is sustainable, definitely the companies would produce more sustainable products.
Yeah. I also want to mention when people talk about, climate change, we have so many scientists, as you explained. We have from the IPCC report, which is the top scientists all around the world, that have explained that climate change, global warming, and this swing pendulum on our climate is happening because it's created by man.
Yeah.
It's being because of CO2 emissions, because of many different things: gas plants, coal plants, cars. Our and you're right. Our consumerism is absolutely a problem, and I'm just gonna toss it in there. Also, capitalism. Capitalism is really at the is the undercurrent, because we need to make things. I mean, look at plastic. Plastic is everywhere. Plastic is all over us. Plastic, everything. And plastic was, our abuelitas, at least in the Latino community, we were always very used to, carrying. I grew up in Colombia, going with my mom to the farmers market with a ¿cómo se dice una canasta?
Reusable bag.
Yeah, like, no, but she didn't even, It was not even a reusable bag. It was, era una canasta. ¿Cómo se
A,
dice canasta?
a basket.
A basket.
Mm.
I used to have my little basket. My mom still has it. When I was, and she had a big basket, and we were just like basketing around, like, So I totally agree with you on that sense, Ksenia 1111, and I invite you to learn more about what the scientists are saying about climate change and how it's actually happening, and is real. And you're absolutely right. There is an undercurrent, about why is this happening? It's not just happening. It's not something natural. So thank you for your question. I see another question in on Instagram that I want to bring up, that people are asking: can city council members impact landscaping? Ooh, more trees in your district. All right. Well, I mean, you're a sustainability expert, Patty. How can council members can influence landscaping?
I mean, from what I understand for previous politicians, there's always been like an association with like tree people or other nonprofits that are about planting 1 million trees, by a certain year. So I think there's always an opportunity for organizations such as Tree People to partner up with our politicians, local politicians, to make these impactful, declarations, and also commit to it and do it. I for sure know that there's a lot of regulations also, or ordinances that align with LEED, and LEED also has a landscaping component
Yeah.
in respect to new designs and new construction. So there is, ordinances out there that do have that landscape requirement, just due to LEED being part of their ordinance measures. So that's what I know now. But for sure, I mean, I would love to see more
I
landscape.
mean, I have some examples that
There's
I already been working on. So when I was a commissioner for LADWP, for our utility. Los Angeles Department of Water and Power is the largest utility in the country, and I've been the youngest commissioner to ever be serving that position. And I was at the thick of the drought. Remember that we had many years that there were fires, and I was serving at the thick of the drought. And one of the things that we decided to do was give incentives to people to change their landscape from
oh
like
yeah,
all of the grass to more of like drought tolerant trees, drought tolerant, like, get rid of your like your front yard or so, and maybe put, more succulents and a different type of landscaping. So that's a way that the city can influence policy that can benefit people and can benefit our planet. And, we just talked about planting more trees, which is a big, I had gotten an award by, city plants and other organizations because of my commitment of planting trees and being an ambassador to, to bring more tree canopy. Because, I mean, the trees are the best. They're like the lungs of the planet, right? They take all that CO2 and they give us shade. And they're just like wonderful. Like I also grew up in an environment with so many trees, and it's been wonderful. So thank you. The Instagrammers, I have to come in and out to check your questions, but
that
thank you
was
for.
that was a wonderful question, because I do remember that incentive, and I remember it being as high as $3.75 per square foot, and there were businesses making bank, converting landscape to drought tolerant landscape. So there's also a business, not only in respect to the impact of agencies supporting this, but then also businesses can become like extremely profitable just by applying these great measures.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to bring another question that somebody asked also on Audrey actually asked on Instagram, but I'm bringing it in so that everybody can see it. So if you're watching this, thank you for being here. You can also join us on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, Aura Vasquez Official, or on X, and bring your questions so that we can, on Instagram, I can't do it. I have to do it myself. So here it goes. Is anyone bringing permaculture design thinking into the city? So maybe we should start by hashing this out about what is permaculture design. Patty? What does that mean to you?
So I love permaculture because it really is just using the natural system in which you design your landscape. Even like creating a little like molehills, so then you're able to trough and get water and feed your own garden. Permaculture is a beautiful study. So to be honest, I don't know if permaculture design elements are currently being ordinanced into city regulations, but that's a very, very good question. But again, it's a for me, permaculture is just using the beauty of creating landscape, and so it could circulate, it could create its own system, and like making hills, making all this, and using
Yeah.
native plants. It's just a particular design that I actually studied it for like a few sessions, but it's beautiful. But that's a great question. I hope they do. That's
Well, and this is something that I want to move forward because again, in our area, we're so dense, but we don't have a lot of open space and parks.
mhm.
So for me, as we look into how do we address the housing crisis, the affordable housing crisis, as you know, it's not a secret here for Angelinos that we don't have a lot of affordable housing stock. It has become very expensive to live in LA and to stay in the communities that you love. So, as I think about main corridors like Pico, Venice Boulevard, even Crenshaw, Washington, as I think of those corridors in my area, and as I think of about more affordable housing and more density, to bring the permaculture kind of view and have the ground floors being more commercial and places that are open and integrated with everybody else in the city, and where we have trees and where we have maybe outdoor seating, and again protected lanes, so that people feel like they can kind of, it's like an urban setting with a very strong naturey flavor. Because again, like, we don't have a lot of open space, but we sometimes see in LA these huge corners, sidewalks that are enormous. So utilize those spaces to make pocket parks and
Yeah,
make sure that people have a feel, at least, of like outdoor kind of open space to
right.
recreate and to hang out. The other part to this for me that is important is that oftentimes in LA, when you meet somebody, you meet them maybe to have a drink or to have dinner. And for a lot of young professionals, this is deadly because a lot of young professionals are paying for student loans. They're
Mm,
maybe trying to save for a new home, or maybe they're trying to save to buy a car,
mm,
and all these extra expenses are really like a lot. So for
mhm.
me, again, having open space and the ability, like plazas, like we see in Latin America, for example, is a great way to invite people to be outside, to for us to have more of a sense of community, to keep an eye on each other in terms of safety, and also to not spend so much money out and about, but
Mhm.
just, having a different type of environment.
Yeah, and also the permaculture, if somebody was to be like sitting around it, they would just, even like maybe if there was like a plaque, just for them to learn like this is a harmonious type of landscape design. Because that's what permaculture is. It's like it's
Yeah.
its own little ecosystem. And to me, like what exactly what you're saying, like then now the people are influenced. I'm like, oh my God, I'm just sitting somewhere that it's sustaining itself in some way. And it somehow influences them for whatever they're talking about or whatever they're building. So I love this person's question, and you're right about all that, about locality and where to put it, and the reasons why, because yeah, it's expensive here in LA.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, we're talking to Patty Menjivar. She is a create sustainability. She's a sustainability expert. And I have been curious because I just learned today that you're also from Central America. And it's so exciting to see more people of color really leading in a lot of sustainable spaces. So I would love to hear a little bit about you. How did you got to this work, and where you're from, and.
Okay, well, thank you for finding that out. Yes, I'm from Central America. My roots are from El Salvador.
Salvadoreña.
Yes.
Woo! Todos los salvadoreños, hearts in the comments.
I know, right? So I was born and raised here in LA. I grew up near the Rampart district. I think a lot of people who are from LA understand like the Rampart scandal. Like that, basically, that was my
The movie, there's a movie about that.
that was my like near my backyard. So I grew up around there. Um, for me, what really there's several stories that are core reasons why I believe I have like my sustainability profession is part of my core self. First, my mom. My mom, every time I would walk around the neighborhood with her, she would always have me smell things. She would have me smell
Mm,
the eucalyptus leaves and just point out the beautiful trees and also tell me stories when she was a child, how she loved to dance in the rain. So my mom just fused that love of nature, love of just joyfully loving the rain. Because sometimes to be honest, when people say, "Oh, the rain," I'm like, "What? The rain is beautiful. We are the one that creating this, even systems that are becoming too exaggerated. But the rain is beautiful. It replenishes us. We're more water than anything." And so my mom just shared with me just the joy of my environment, and so she's a core reason. And then when I was 12, I actually junior high, I actually worked for Clean and Green. It's the LA Corps nonprofit
oh
here.
my God, yes, the LA Corpse.
Yeah, so I was actually part of one of the first cohorts, and I actually was about
Wow.
5 years ago. I was given an award or something because I was part of the first cohorts. I was either part of the first one or the second one, but I was surprised about that too. That this was back in the late '80s, and but that was a core memory too because what I loved about it is that they allowed us to clean our neighborhoods and see really how people don't really take care of it, and then us clean it and see how beautiful it is. And I remember particularly, like one time we painted over graffiti. I was like, oh my god, is the graffiti there now? Just me being observant more with my environment. So to me, just with community, knowing that I can help with the community and clean it. So my mom, clean and green, and my culture, like our culture, I am indigenous. Like we love our environment. The
Yeah.
environment loves us. So Mother Nature loves us. So that's the reason why I believe in my core. That's why I love to be all about community and my environment. But
Yeah, I feel like our story is so similar in so many ways, even though we were coming from like a whole other different place, like
yes.
in South America we have so much greenery, and in Colombia, I think similar to El Salvador, a lot of Colombians, we couldn't travel. Like you hear in the United States, like people go to, like, when they can, they go to Europe or they go to other countries. Like we couldn't leave our country because I was in Colombia. I'm I moved out of Colombia when I was 18, but like my 18 years in Colombia, I had to experience all the violence around the cartels.
Oh.
So Pablo Escobar was at in his peak. So I was in
Oh.
Colombia, and that was actually one of the reasons why we left, because the
Oh.
war on drugs really exacerbated a lot of more violence in our country. So that's when we decided to leave and come to the United States. But
Mhm.
the 18 years of my life those 18 years, I will never trade them for anything. Being home. Uh, I have my grandmother is a very big adventurous woman. She never even finished. I don't even think I think if she has like a fourth grade, education is a lot. She was a woman of the earth, and, big, lived in a farm and had animals and chickens, so I grew up, she will send me with, to grab the eggs from, like just freshly, like from her farm. And, so my upbringing was completely very much in nature. And like my aunt, I feel like a few years ago, I went to visit, and I was telling her that for this is another part. For many years, we couldn't go hiking in Colombia.
Wow.
Because it was dangerous,
Wow.
because it was unsafe. because we also have all sorts of internal wars, like
Mhm.
the FARC and the guerrillas and so we couldn't be in nature because nature was dominated by people that brought a lot of sadness
Yeah.
to our community. So for the first time, as things got better, I went back I think 2 years ago after the pandemic, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go on a hike. And they were so stressed about it. They're like, no, this is something that's gonna happen. I was like, no, no, it's good. There's like a hiking group. I'm gonna go. And mind you, Colombia has like three incredible, like the Andes goes through Colombia. I mean, it's like some
Mm.
jungle, like incredible. So I went back and my aunt was telling me, oh, you're gonna be out there, don't forget to, when you see the trees, hug them and
Oh,
put your ears towards them and listen because they
oh,
speak to you. And I
oh.
was like, and I was already like in my 40s listening to this.
That's amazing.
But this is the culture. This is like, like I feel like when people, ask me, and I have worked with the Sierra Club, for example. I have been I led the campaign to get a layoff of coal. I have been on the movement of divestment for so long, divestment from fossil fuel. The other day you saw me speak about this part of my career, and reminding myself that I have been saving lives with this work. And now in 2035, the United States is gonna be coal free. Like, to me, this is just incredible
Mm-hmm.
to be able to witness and to be part of this movement. But I
That's
don't think any of that would have mattered if it wasn't because I grew up in, like running
yeah.
around, you know, climbing trees and getting, which is somewhat very similar to your experience, but very different because you were already here and it was like very urban.
Yes. Yeah. Oh wow, I didn't know that story. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Yeah. And I'm also a big rain dancer. We need more, we need more. We need to do more. You said you're indigenous, and I truly believe there were a few years where we really danced, for the rain. Like, and God, a lot of rain, which is, I guess, we're seeing the fruit of it. Okay, what else? What are some of the things that you see that are not happening in LA that we could move forward, at the local level?
Got it. I really feel like one thing that, especially to be in preparation for all these events, is to create resiliency hubs. I believe the city of LA began that, but I think there needs to be more activity around that. So
Hmm.
that's something that I wish you would, do
Hmm.
for your council area, is to
Hmm.
create several resiliency hubs, and these
Yes, I love that.
resiliency hubs would have, okay, this is what you should know that we can prepare you for if we have large heat wave days, or let's say there's a flood. Like, how is it that we can help you in respect to if there's a flood? Obviously, when there's a flood, you're at home. That maybe that hub is maybe 2 blocks away. Maybe they're not so close, but at least for them to inform you. So a hub that can inform you, guide you, give you resources. And I've seen that agencies are wanting to collaborate in this, but I just don't see that many going on. And I think that is a priority that we should do as a city and for your council for preparation for all these different climate events.
I'm so glad that you found the name for me because I've been talking about this too. But the way I talk about it, how we have a disaster readiness,
Yes.
sir. The sir, I think it's called. Some of it is basically, how we prepare for like an earthquake or something. I
Hmm.
think we also need to start preparing for climate disasters. And
Hmm.
what I would love to see is also more of these resiliency places or these hubs, like cooling centers, which we already
Yes.
have in Los Angeles. We have some parks that become cooling centers, and people, when it's too hot and they don't have AC, they can go and refuge there. But imagine if those centers had microgrid technology so that if
Yes.
something happens, they can completely be independent from the grid. And it's not that I don't want them to be part of the grid. It's that in case of an emergency, we need to be able to power our phones or to cook or to, a lot of people, when the power goes off, dies. They die because they depend, like their medicines or their um, medical devices. So I definitely envision that, and I love that you bring in these resiliency hubs. I might have to steal it,
Yes.
because
Yes.
it's something that I often talk about, and also with the component of safety, because a lot of our communities, especially communities of color, they don't feel that, sometimes they don't feel safe in their community, even though we have police, and the police takes 60% of our budget, but they still feel that you call the police, they don't come, they don't do what they need to do, they don't feel safe. So utilizing this model of
Mhm.
disaster readiness or preparedness, and
Mhm.
combining with resiliency hubs, and also
Mhm.
as a way for us to keep us safe. So I think it's like we're killing like three birds at once, which is wonderful.
You know, and also the Inflation Reduction Act does have a community change grants program, and it particularly is for environmental and climate justice. So for underrepresented areas, they do have this grant that I mean, it's just a matter of you proposing the grant for these resiliency hubs. So that's another place to get the money from.
Oh my God! Wait, tell me more. So the IRA has this.
So IRA has a community change grants program, and it
Uh-huh.
particularly is for environmental and climate justice. And it funds environmental and climate justice activities such as climate resiliency. So, so I think this particular resiliency hub that you were speaking of, and also for underrepresented areas, I think this is a grant that I think would be great to get money from our IRA.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Well, I think I have one last comment here from also from Instagram. Some Chantal Marina on Instagram says, yes, love the idea of having more plaza like community spaces in District 10. And this is like my dream, because many of you don't know this, but I'm from an area in Colombia where it's kind of like small town feel.
Mm.
Cali is in a valley. We're the second largest Afro Latino community in Latin America, so it's very mixed.
Oh.
We are very, culturally, in, identified with our Black culture. So we have
Mhm.
a lot of drumming and a lot of dancing, and it's very hospitable. Everybody wants to dance all the time. We're big salseros. We dance salsa, music. And it has tons of plazas. Everywhere you turn, it's a little plaza where people can kind of hang out. And the
Mm.
plaza maybe has a little fountain, or like a tree. Actually, there's a lot of plazas that are
Yeah.
surrounded trees, and or they have, like a beauty, like a statue or something like that, or maybe like some art. So this has also been a dream of mine. And actually in Koreatown, we have been discussing the idea of closing one part of the street so that we can make it completely pedestrian, so people can
I love
come.
that.
It would be so cool. Yeah.
That's just beautiful. And then you can also create that like a resiliency hub in some way.
Yes. And also, like you said, like putting the little plaques about educating people.
Mhm.
And I really envision, people maybe coming and playing an instrument. This is something that I'm
Mhm.
also so hungry. I went to a school in New York. I went to college in New York. And in New York, every corner, in the subway, everywhere, you see somebody playing the saxophone or a piano, or having full on shows, like it's so wonderful. So I really hope that Angelinos get a little more, out there, and start to get, more in tune with being out and also showing their talents,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
which is like, I feel like we can have it all. It's
Yes.
just a matter of having the right leaders that have this type of, vision and mentality leading us.
Yes.
I think is important. Well, Patty, I can't believe time flew. We've
I
been in this combo already for 15 minutes.
Yay.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to maybe say a few last words.
Yes, well, I'm very grateful for you, for us to have this conversation. I'm grateful that you were a yes about us just talking about sustainability within politics, and which you have been so active for so many years. And I love this plaza idea, which has so many layers about how to help educate people to be resilient, but also have fun. There's just so many things that you've been part of and now creating. And I think it's such a great time right now for us to consider so many things that maybe we didn't do great, before. And so I'm just happy to see that your ideas are definitely forward thinking and really for the community and also for the environment. So thank you for inviting me and being part of this conversation. And definitely I had fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just want to invite people to join our campaign or my campaign. I know that you and I have spoken about this, and you became a supporter of my campaign for city council. We are 2 weeks away from from election day. It's election day is March 5th, which is just around the corner. So I want to invite everyone to join us and to be part of our movement. And we can't do it alone. We have to, we need everyone right now. We need tons of volunteers that can help us make this vision for for more a resilient, sustainable Los Angeles possible. So I hope that everyone, and I hope, Patty, I see you soon also, campaigning with us, or maybe knocking on doors. We always need it, and here you can see it. You can
Yeah,
see more information about the campaign. So yeah, come join us, come walk and meet the neighbors, and it will
I
be
love
so
that.
exciting to share more about our vision.
Yes, definitely will.
Yeah, so if thank you so much for being here, and I hope that we can do another one very soon, another topic. I think we should pick topics and maybe do like a monthly thing. I think people would.
Okay, cool. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Patty, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Okay, have a great night.
Thank you. All right, everyone. That was Patty Menjivar, a sustainability expert, a fellow Green Latina. If you love what you just heard, you know where to find me. Just visit auraforthepeople.com. And if you want to join our canvassing events, we are going out there talking to voters every day. This weekend, we have a very exciting time out and about talking to voters in the district. If you feel compelled, please also make a contribution. Right now, we're looking for 90 donors that can donate $100 to our campaign so that we can unlock the power of the matching funds here in Los Angeles. But if you can donate $100, that's okay. We'll take any little bit, helps. You can, you can donate $10, $20, anything that you can chip in. Really help us, really help us get to our goal and reach every voter. And I can tell you guys, as a Green Latina, as an Afro Latina that deeply cares about sustainability and our environment, it's really hard to run for city council, and it's really hard, to move these ideas forward because the system is not set up for people like us. So help me break those ceilings. Come and be part of our movement and be part of this historic moment and help the first Afro Latina get elected to the city council. So I hope that you enjoyed tonight as much as I did, and that you will join our movement. If you are, watching from any of our social media channels, thank you for spending some time with us. And I'll see you all very soon. Have a great night. Bye.